Some of you are probably socially distancing right now or self-isolating. There will be some on lockdown, and sadly there will be a few of you probably in full-on quarantine. But there'll be a lot of us stuck at home with the family for longer than normal. We don't have the reprieve of a school or work day from that environment. And as much as you may love your family most of the time, we cannot spend every waking hour with other people. We all need time to decompress. And so a lot of us will probably be dipping into our media backlogs. So there'll be films and television series that you've always meant to watch but put off. There'll be that book you've always meant to read, or write in some cases maybe. And the games that you've always wanted to play. Now today's entry wasn't that for me. I started it before everything got kind of noticeable and serious. I finished it when that was really ramping up. But I feel that if I come out and, give you some defense of it, really, that's what this video is, then it might be added to your list. There was a lot of negativity about it. There still is. It's still considered the kind of unlikable child, if you will, of the Final Fantasy series as a whole. But there is good here. And I always say it in my videos, pretty much all of them have spoilers ahead at the start these days. But this will get some endgame spoilers. There will be stuff that, is right at the end of the game that I don't want to spoil for people who haven't played it. I will remind you when that is. We're going to do it towards the end. So if you want like the negatives, some of the positives and a general overview, fine, carry on watching. But I will remind you when we're going to get into endgame spoilers so you can go away and then maybe come back and see what my opinion was and see if you agree. But I think to defend something isn't just to go, hey, this was all fantastic. That's not what defending something is. You can still acknowledge the flaws, the problems with it. And I do with this. There are flaws and there are problems with it, without a shadow of a doubt. And we'll get into those. We'll end on the high. Why not? First of all, and this is what most people's issue is with it, to be honest, the combat system. No longer are you having turn-based battles, and that's been the case for a while. There's a lot of active stuff. Even the Final Fantasy VII Remake that's coming out has mostly real-time, but you charge your ATB by doing the real-time stuff, as far as I understand it, so then you do the turn-based stuff once you've got that charged and time slows. It's a bit like VATS, I guess, in a way. But, like I said, that isn't the case here. There is tactical mode, but it's not really. You can't just give commands in the normal way. And so a lot of people didn't like it. It could be simplified as hold down the circle or B button if there's an enemy coming to attack you or you get the prompt on screen, press the X or square button and rinse and repeat. So combat isn't really engaging. It's just holding a button down and maybe switching to another button. If you unlock the ability to switch to the other members of the team, then you can control them by holding B or switching over to the other button. And there are, kind of summons that occur, and there are sort of technical things that can happen once you've charged a bar. But really, they're little moments. That's not really the tactical, turn-based, strategic combat. I mean, you still have, you have a choice of weapons, and you have to make sure that you're using the right weapon for the job. But still, it's very simplified. But if you can get through it, there is a lot of good here. I mean, that is the biggest thing that people didn't like. There are people out there who don't like additional materials. They don't like homework. I'm normally one of them, to be honest. Now, in this game, you have the game, and you have occasional cutscenes in the newer version, like the Windows version, the Royal version, I believe, have cutscenes from Kingsglaive, particularly, the sort of 2-hour, I believe, film that accompanied it, that sort of tells you some of the more political parts of the story. But some of those have been incorporated to at least give a passing bit of information, so you get an understanding of what happened. But if you follow a particular guide on Reddit, which if I can find it again, I will link in the description below if you do want to play through, that gives the best time to sort of do all the additional materials, and I think that really works. Kingsglaive, you might be able to skip if the the whole politics side of this world doesn't interest you in the same way. Feel free to give that a miss if you want. You're not missing tons, although if you do play the multiplayer expansion Comrades and various sort of missions towards the end, you will not have some of the understanding of what the Kingsglaive are and everything like that and what happened years ago. But you can mostly skip it. What I would definitely say do not skip is Brotherhood. It's a 5-part anime on YouTube, available for free. And it tells you the story of how the guys know each other, what they were like when they were younger. And really, this story, this game, is about the kinship of 4 guys. You know, we have the prince, his shield, the guy who's there to protect him, his cook and friend, and, you know, an awkward young child who just wanted to be cool and liked by him, who got fit and trim to impress his new friends, which, okay, not a great body positive message, but still, you know, these 4 guys came together and bonded so well. And that's really what this game is. It's the story of these 4 guys and their friendships. Prince has these 3 people who look up to him, but also rib him if he needs it. You know, they can bring him down a peg or 2. And I love that. So whilst, like I say, I normally hate additional materials and think that if you don't tell your story in the original medium, that's a failing of you, not me, I actually enjoyed it here. I don't know if you could have just had a long cutscene as a flashback. I'd have been bored by that. But giving me the choice, and also for people who just want to enjoy the story that's laid out in the game, you don't lose anything by not watching Brotherhood. You just gain. And that to me is important. So they could still tell the story, but if you want that backstory, there's your avenue. So I really did love that. But, you know, these guys all have great personalities. The voice acting is great in this. There are some wonderful moments and you know, characters who are just voiced so perfectly, like the main guys particularly. I will always support Matt Mercer. He's great as Corleonis, the Immortal. But everyone here did a great job, and I really loved it. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is the DLCs, the episodes. And again, this guide does give the best place to play them, and in some cases when to kind of pause playing them, go back to the main game, and then come back. But again, they just add extra. You can completely play through the game without playing those, you know, episodes or the multiplayer expansion, and you're fine. You're golden. But again, they add to it, and that's what good DLC and extra materials should do. Now, a kind of middle point, it's not really positive but not really fully negative, is the multiplayer Comrades expansion. I mean, as of now, getting actual people who are live and playing is very difficult, but I kind of prefer to have the bots anyway because I haven't got toxic people potentially ruining my fun. So I'm okay with that. You know, playing it kind of like the main game with the rest of my team AI controlled, fine for me, but it does still have the same control system, and it is a bit grindy. I actually had to find a guide on how to play it properly, because I was just like, how many times am I going to have to like keep getting like this power and everything like that? You know, how long am I going to have to play to get to a point where I can unlock the next power node? I didn't need to unlock that next power node for a long time, technically. I could have gone to various different points in the map very efficiently and not had that problem. But it doesn't really give you any tips. It's just like, power up to these places. I'm like, well, I don't know where some of these places are. Maybe this route will take me there. Because sometimes you'll go down a path and it'll just end and you're like, oh, I should have taken that branch there. So you've done things that you didn't need to. So I found another guide that basically said, it was basically getting the best weapons together. And that's what I used. I made sure I got all the best weapons so I could just breeze through and finish it in less than 100 hours. You know, I actually managed to do it in 20 some hours. But to take away from the main game for that long was a bit jarring coming back. I was like, oh, what was going on? Where am I? Who am I? So I don't think, you know, that is... You can skip it in a way, but you do miss out again on some information. But you can let it go. I mean, if you've watched Kingsglaive, there are threads that are picked up. So there's a lot kind of saying, kind of play it, and it was my choice. I'm like, well, I'm getting my money's worth out of it. I'm playing it. But, like I say, it's not perfect. It still relies on the same thing, and it's very grindy. Unless you've got a guide, you are pretty much flying in the dark. But, again, I kind of enjoyed, you know, this additional story and getting some different information about the world, what happened between certain plot points. But really, the story of this game is really what makes it. Like I say, the camaraderie of all the guys, it kept me hooked. I wanted to do, like I said with Red Dead Redemption 2, I wanted to do all the side quests and live in this world a little longer. But then I got to chapter 8. And this is where we're going to sort of go into a bit of a negative. First sort of half of the game, very freeform. Well, it sort of rushes you through the first sort of chapter, but then once the world opens and you're free to do what you wish, you know, in your own pace, you can go around, do all the hunts, do all the side quests. I don't want it to. I enjoyed living in this world. I enjoyed driving the Regalia around, listening to old Final Fantasy music and various other pieces. But all of a sudden, when you get to a certain point in the story, the whole thing's compressed. You could do that first half over like double digits of hours. As soon as you get to the second half, you're struggling to touch double digits. It's like, I think someone estimated somewhere around 6 hours really for the last sort of half of the game. And it does feel very rushed, and I know there were problems with development and things like that, but, you know, again, I can love it, but acknowledge the flaws here. And that to me was a flaw. You know, I didn't realise that all of a sudden everything would be changed, and until I got the ability to go back to the open world, I was like, I can't finish all those things until like endgame? What? I wanted to do more. But I didn't feel like that at the end. The story closed out nicely to me. And I think that's where I'm going to sort of get into the spoilers a little now. So if you've stayed with me so long, then yes, you know, there are flaws, there are good things. The additional materials are great if you want to use them. But now, hopefully, all of you who don't want this spoiled, you know, have gone. The ending of the game really got me because of what had happened before. The meeting up with the guys, you know, afterwards, after they'd all done their individual things and everything like that. All of that was emotionally charged. That final battle with Arden, which again, I did put Arden just before the end. Slotted the episode Arden in and it worked again. It just enhanced the latter part of the story. But having all the guys, you know, sort of with me and fighting, and then they're incapacitated, it's just you versus Arden. Using the awful combat systems, so it just felt like a breeze. But still. And I had this thought, the whole prophecy that was there that he was going to die, I thought, but if Arden's of the same blood, if he kills him, surely that's the sacrifice of royal blood. Surely that's enough. But no, our Prince Noctis dies. And I was upset by this because I'd grown fond of him. The story was enough, even with all the flaws, to build this attachment. And I was really gutted when it actually was, he has to die. And I couldn't believe how affected I was. Because technically the game had prepared me, but I'd done that kind of, you know, disbelief thing. I didn't want to accept that. And so, it still floored me. And then the ending where you see, I don't know, some kind of afterlife where he and Luna are married and in control of some kind of heaven Lucis, if you will. That got me as well. And I was very, very kind of... It's bittersweet, I guess. It's like, well, he died, but I guess he's in an afterlife where he's happy. And he's married to Luna. This is what he wanted. And the world is saved. The day came back. But... yeah, it really got me. Emotionally powerful. And I really enjoyed it for that. And yeah, like I say, it's a flawed game. I'm not going to lie. It is a flawed game. There's a lot wrong with this. They could have done so many things better. But if you're willing to look past those and understand that at a certain point the game is pretty much on rails, then I think this is worth playing. So, you know, if you've never got through it or you put it off or... you didn't care about spoilers and you've never kind of, you know, sort of actually played it and you're here now, go and play it, please, you know, and put up with the jankiness, but enjoy this story of friendship. I think now more than ever, this is the kind of stories we need to be looking at and playing and hearing or whatever. So that's it for Final Fantasy 15. I definitely recommend it, in spite of its flaws. There's a lot to love. But as always, thank you for watching, and take care.